Hey guys, tonight we re-go into a place where the phrase LOL is unjust internet slang at S, a confession to a crime. We are heading to a village that decided happiness was a liability. A town where the architecture is beautiful, but the vibe is strictly funeral home chic. Imagine a world where a chuckle could cost you a fine, and a belly laugh could land you in the stocks. You probably won T-Survivor reality check about how much noise you make on a daily basis. You live in a loud world, TikToks blaring, horns honking, people laughing at terrible podcasts on the bus. But here, silence isn't golden. It's mandatory. If you're the kind of person who giggles at funerals or snorts when you drink soda, you wouldn't last 5 minutes in Valoria. You'd be public enemy number 1. So before you get comfortable and seal your lips, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy my work here. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. I love imagining the map lighting up with all of you, safe in your noisy, joyous homes. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for a soft background, and let's start tonight's journey together. You are standing at the edge of a dense forest, looking at a gate that seems to be trying very hard to disappear into the fog. The air is cool and damp, the kind of weather that seeps into your bones and makes you want to curl up. With a blanket, which is appropriate because you are about to enter the sleepiest, saddest place on earth. This is Valoria. The first thing you notice isn't what you see, but what you hear, or rather what you don't hear. You've been to medieval villages before. They are usually a cacophony of life blacksmiths, hammering iron. Merchants shouting about the freshness of their turnips, chickens squawking, carts rattling over cobblestones. It's usually a sensory overload, but Valoria is silent. It's not the peaceful silence of a library. It's the heavy, suffocating silence of a room where someone has just received bad news. You step forward toward the gatehouse. It's built of dark gray stone, covered in moss that hangs like weeping willow branches. There are guards, of course. 2 of them. They are leaning on their halberds, staring at the ground. They aren't sleeping, but they look like they wish they were. Their tabards are black, trimmed with a deep, bruised purple. They don't look up as you approach. They just sigh. A long, synchronized, world-weary sigh. You walk through the open archway, and your foot lands on the ground. But there is no clack of boot on stone. Instead, there is a soft she. You look down. The streets are not paved with cobblestones or packed dirt. They're covered in straw. It's thick, golden layers of straw, inches deep, blanketing the entire road like the bottom of a giant, depressing hamster cage. This isn't just poor sanitation. A mainstream historical fact you might recall is that in medieval cities, straw, or tan bark, was often laid down on the street outside the homes of the wealthy sick, specifically to dampen the noise of passing horses, so the invalid could rest. But here in Valoria, the whole town is treated like a sick room. The straw is fresh, smelling faintly of sweet grass and rain, but its purpose is sinister, to kill the sound of life. Take another step. It's oddly satisfying, like walking on a memory foam mattress, but it's also unsettling. You feel like you're sneaking around, even though you have every right to be here. You look up at the houses. There are tall, timber-framed structures that lean over the street, blocking out the gray sky. And from every window, from every balcony, hangs a banner. They are long strips of black crepe or dark wool, hanging limp in the still air. It looks like the entire town is in mourning, because legally speaking it is. You continue walking down the main street. You see people. They are moving like ghosts, gliding over the straw. They are dressed in muted colors, grays, browns, blacks, no reds, no yellows, no vibrant blues. They walk with their heads down, hands clasped in front of them or tucked into sleeves. You pass a bakery. Usually a bakery is a hub of warmth and chatter. Here the baker is kneading dough with a slow, rhythmic motion that looks more like a massage than work. He places a loaf on the counter for a customer. Transaction happens in total silence. The customer points. The baker nods. Coins are exchanged, placed softly into a velvet-lined tray to avoid the chink of metal. The customer takes the bread, bows their head, and leaves. It's like watching a movie on mute. You feel a tickle in your throat. The damp air is getting to you. Cough. Heck, hack. The sound rips through the street like a gunshot. People freeze. A woman carrying a basket of laundry stops mid-step. A man sweeping the straw with a soft bristle broom naturally looks up in horror. They stare at you, not with anger, but with panic. You have broken the spell. You have made a sudden loud noise. A guard approaches you. He moves silently over the straw. He doesn't yell halt. He just glides into your personal space and holds a finger to his lips. Hush, he whispers. His voice is barely audible, a rustle of dry leaves. The Lord is grieving. Do not disturb the air. Sorry, you whisper back, feeling irrationally guilty. Just a cough. Suppress it, the guard commands gently. Or take it to the forest. The village is for quiet contemplation. He hands you a small strip of black cloth. Tie this around your arm. It shows you respect the sorrow. You take the cloth and tie it on. Great. Now you're an accessory to the depression. You keep walking, deeper into the town. Start to notice the details of this enforced solemnity. The shop signs aren't the usual pictorial boards of foaming beer steins or happy pigs. The tavern is called the Weeping Willow. The butcher shop has a sign that just says flesh, painted in a somber Gothic font. It's goth paradise, honestly. If you were an emo teenager in 2005, this would be your Disneyland. But the psychological weight of it is real. Humans are social animals. We rely on feedback. Smile, a laugh, a raised voice. These are how we calibrate our reality. Without them, you feel unmoored. You catch the eye of a young girl peeking out from behind her mother's skirt. In any other town, you'd smile, maybe make a funny face. Here, you find yourself flattening your expression, mirroring the blank, wide-eyed stare of the locals. You are assimilating. It's terrifyingly easy. Historians still argue whether Valoria's Great Silence was a unique event or if it is an exaggerated retelling of a town that took a vow of silence during a plague year. There are records of monasteries doing this, of course, Trappist monks who speak only when necessary. But a whole town? A functioning economy running on charades and whispers? It seems impossible. Yet as you feel the straw crush under your boots, it feels very real. You reach the town square. In the center, where a fountain should be splashing merrily, there is a dry stone basin. It's filled with sand. Because water splashing is too cheerful. It sounds too much like applause. There is a statue in the middle of the sand. It's not a heroic knight or a benevolent saint. It's a statue of a young boy, maybe 10 years old, looking sad. He is holding a jester's cap in his hands, staring at it with an expression of tragic regret. This must be the heir from the outline, the cause of all this misery. We'll get to his story later, but for now his stone face sets the tone for the entire plaza. You sit on a bench. It's cold stone, no cushions. Comfort is probably considered a gateway drug to happiness here. You watch the locals. There is something odd about their faces. You realized it earlier with the guards, but now you see it everywhere. They don't just look sad. They look smooth. Their foreheads are unlined. Their mouths are relaxed, almost slack. It's the Valoria face. Without the repetitive motion of smiling, frowning, or laughing, their faces have lost their dynamic tension. It's like everyone has had preventive Botox. A trivial fact for you. In the 19th century, there was a medical theory called phrenology that tried to read character from skull shapes. But medieval physiognomy was all about the mobile face. A mobile face was seen as passionate and therefore dangerous. A still face was a holy face. By that logic, these people are the holiest saints in Christendom. A dog trots through the square. You tense up. Dogs bark. Dogs are chaotic. If anything is going to break the silence, it's a golden retriever with the zoomies. But this dog is broken. It walks with its head down, tail tucked. It approaches a group of people, sniffs a shoe, and moves on. It doesn't beg. It doesn't wag. It has been socialized into sorrow. You wonder if they train the animals, or if the animals just pick up on the vibe. Animals are empathetic. If everyone around you is acting like the world is ending, eventually you start to believe it too. You see a pair of lovers or what you assume are lovers. They are walking close together, hands brushing. In a normal town, they would be giggling, whispering sweet nothings, maybe stealing a kiss. Here, they look like they are plotting a murder. They stare intensely into each other's eyes with a look of desperate, silent longing. It's incredibly romantic in a Victorian Gothic novel kind of way, but also deeply disturbing. Their love has nowhere to go. It can't be vocalized. It has to be compressed into meaningful glances. Start to feel a strange pressure in your chest. It's the urge to rebel. You want to hum a tune you want to skip. You want to ask someone, so how about them Knicks? Just to see the confusion? This is the danger of Valoria. The silence acts as a vacuum, pulls at you. You have to actively fight to keep your own internal rhythm going, or you'll sync up with the town's slow, mournful heartbeat. You decide to visit the local inn to see if the atmosphere is any lighter indoors. The inn is called the Broken Chalice. A cheery name. You push the heavy oak door open. It swings silently on well-oiled hinges. Inside, it's dim. The windows are shuttered. Candles flicker on the tables, casting long, dancing shadows that seem to have more energy than the patrons. The room is full, but the noise level is lower than a whisper. It's a hum. A low, collective vibration of hushed conversations. You walk to the bar. The floor here is covered in sawdust, again to dampen the sound. The barkeep is a large man with a beard that looks like a majestic, sad hedge. He is wiping a tankard with a rag. Drink? He mouths. He doesn't even whisper. He just shapes the word. Ale, you whisper. He nods. He fills the tankard from a cask. He tilts the glass expertly so the liquid slides down the side without glugging. Glug-glug sounds too much like a party, apparently. He sets it down on a felt coaster. You take a sip. It's room temperature, dark and bitter. It tastes like rainy Tuesdays. You look around the room. In the corner, there is a fireplace. But the fire is kept low, just embers. A roaring fire crackles. Crackling is noise. So they keep it at a smolder. It provides barely enough heat to keep the chill off. Next to the hearth, there is a man with a lute. You perk up music. Here, but he isn't playing a jig. He's plucking the string so gently you can barely hear the notes. It's a slow, melancholic melody, played in a minor key. It sounds like the soundtrack to a breakup scene in a sad indie movie. The patrons are swaying slightly, eyes closed, drinking in the misery. This is their entertainment. They're getting high on sadness. You realize that this isn't just a band, it's a culture. They have fetishized grief. They have turned mourning into an art form. Being the saddest person in the room is a status symbol. The guy in the corner weeping silently into his hands. He's the life of the party. You finish your bitter ale and head back out into the straw-covered street. The sun is setting, turning the gray sky a bruised purple. The black banners flutter slightly in the evening breeze. As night falls, the town doesn't get rowdier. It gets deadlier silent. The curfew bell tolls, but even the bell is muffled wrapped in cloth so it produces a dull thud rather than a ring. Thud, thud. It sounds like a heartbeat slowing down. You find you're lodging a room above a candle shop. The bed is soft, too soft, like sleeping in a marshmallow. As you lie there staring at the ceiling, you listen. You listen for a laugh, a shout, a cry, anything human, but there's nothing. Just the wind in the eaves and the terrifying, heavy silence of a town that has forgotten how to exhale. You drift off to sleep, but your dreams are strange. You dream of colors. You dream of noise. And you wake up with the distinct feeling that you are holding your breath, waiting for a punchline that never comes. This is Valoria, and you've only just arrived. The silence is the easy part. Wait until you learn why they are silent. Wait until you hear the story of the air and the jester. That's when the tragedy stops being atmospheric and starts being personal. You survived the night in the land of the hushed. Waking up in Valoria is a disorienting experience. There are no roosters crowing, presumably. They've all been made into soup for being too loud. There are no church bells ringing matins. It's just the gray light of dawn creeping through the shutters and the muffled shuffle of straw-covered footsteps outside. You head downstairs and find your way to the town square again. It's time to understand the why of this place. You find an old woman sitting by the dry fountain.
Oh.
She is feeding pigeons. Even the pigeons seem subdued, pecking at the crumbs with a grim efficiency rather than their usual chaotic fluttering. The woman looks like she has been carved out of driftwood. Her face is a map of deep lines, but her expression is the standard Valorian mask of neutral sorrow. You sit next to her. "Good morning," you whisper. She nods slowly. "A morning," she corrects softly. "Whether it is good is for the Lord to decide." "Why the silence?" you ask, gesturing to the muted town. "I saw the statue. It's a boy with the jester cap." The woman's hand freezes mid-throw. A pigeon looks up, disappointed. She turns to you, her eyes cloudy with age and memory. "You are a stranger," she rasps. "You do not know the tragedy of the air." "Tell me," you urge gently. She sighs, a sound like wind through dry leaves. "It was 20 years ago. The village was different then. We had festivals. We had a maypole. We wore ribbons in our hair." She touches her gray head, covering wistfully. "Lord Valerius ruled from the keep. He was a stern man, but fair. His pride and joy was his son, Julian." "Julian," you repeat, "the boy in the statue?" "Yes. He was 10 years old, bright as a new penny, but sickly. He had a weak chest. The doctor said he must be kept calm. No excitement, no running, no shouting." She scatters another handful of crumbs. "It was the Lord's birthday. He threw a grand feast in the great hall. He hired a troupe of performers from the south, jugglers, fire readers, and a jester, a man named Festa." You lean in, the jester again.
Right.
"It seems every medieval tragedy needs a man in motley. Festi was a master of his craft," she continues. "He could make a stone gargoyle giggle. He tumbled, he told riddles, he mocked the high and mighty, and young Julian, he loved it. He sat at the high table, his eyes wide, laughing." She pauses, her voice trembling. "He laughed and laughed. He couldn't stop. It was a pure, beautiful sound. But then the laughter turned to coughing. A piece of roast pheasant. It went the wrong way. He choked. He gasped for air, but the laughter had seized his lungs. He turned blue. You flinch. It's a horrific image. Child dying of joy. The jester didn't realize at first," she whispers. "He thought the boy was still laughing. He kept dancing, kept making faces. The Lord screamed for the physician, but it was too late. Julian died right there on the dais, with a smile on his face and a jester S-cap in his hand that Festi had tossed to him. God, you breathe. The Lord went mad with grief, she says. He blamed the jester. He blamed the laughter. I said that if the boy had been solemn, he would have breathed. He declared that mirth was a poison. He banished the performers to the dungeon. And the next day, the Edict of Silence was posted. Mainstream historical facts tell us that sumptuary laws and public ordinances were often reactionary. A fire burns down a city. Ban wooden roofs. A plague hits. Ban travel. Here, a child dies laughing. Ban laughter. It's a traumatic logic that makes perfect sense to a grieving father with absolute power. He smashed every mirror in the castle, the woman says. Couldn't bear to see his own face, because it reminded him of the boy. Then he ordered the town to do the same. No vanity, he said. No reflection of joy. Then came the banners. Then the straw. He wanted the world to be as quiet as his son's grave. And you all just accepted it. We loved the boy too, she says simply. And we feared the Lord. Grief is contagious, stranger. At first, we were sad out of respect, then out of habit. Now it is simply who we are. We are the mourners of Julian. She stands up slowly, her knees cracking a sound that seems startlingly loud in the quiet square. Be careful, she warns. The Lord still watches. He sits in his high tower listening. If he hears joy, he hears his son dying all over again. She shuffles away, leaving you alone with the pigeons. You look up at the castle looming over the town. It's a dark, foreboding structure, its flags hanging limp and black. It feels like a giant eye, staring down at the ants below, daring them to be happy. You decide to test the mirror ban the woman mentioned. You walk to a merchant's stall selling polished metal good spots, pans, knives. Do you have a looking glass? You ask the merchant. He recoils as if you asked for a plague rat. Contraband, he hisses. Forbidden. You pick up a copper pot. It's brushed, not polished. The metal is dull, reflecting only a vague, blurry shape. You can see your silhouette, but not your face. You can't see if you have spinach in your teeth. Can't see if you look tired. Most importantly, you can't see if you're smiling. This is the psychological brilliance of the ban. If you can't see your own face, you lose a connection to your own emotions. You can't check yourself. You can't practice a smile. You become estranged from your own image. You wander down a side street and find a puddle, a natural mirror, but someone has poured sawdust into it. It's intentional. It's a sorrow patroller. Whatever they call the guards, here must go around muddying the waters literally. You keep walking until you reach the edge of the town near the river. The river valley is slow-moving and dark, but here nature fights back. The water reflects the sky. You lean over the bank there, your face. It looks shocking. You haven't seen yourself clearly since you arrived. You look worried. You look tired. You instinctively try to smile at your reflection. A reassurance mechanism. Crack. A stone lands in the water, shattering your image into ripples. You spin around. A guard stands there. He didn't throw the stone at you. He threw it at the water. No narcissism, he says softly. The river is for washing, not for gazing. I was just looking, you defend. To look is to judge, the guard recites. To judge is to find pleasure or fault. Both are distractions from sorrow. He gestures back toward the town. Move along. The tax collector is coming. You don't want to be caught idly gazing. The tax collector. You remember the outline? The tax on joy? You hurry back to the main street. A crowd is gathered. They're lining up in front of a table set up outside the guild hall. Behind the table sits a man who looks like he was born filing paperwork. He has a quill, a ledger, and a pair of spectacles perched on a sharp nose. This is the assessor of mood. You watch from the back of the line. The process is bizarre. A citizen steps up. The assessor looks at them. He studies their face. Name, Eller John. Expression, the assessor squints. Doer, eyes downcast, shoulders slumped. Acceptable. He writes something down. Standard tax. Silver pieces. Miller John pays and leaves, looking relieved but not too relieved. Next up is a young woman. She looks nervous. Her cheeks are flushed, maybe from the cold, maybe from anxiety. Name, Ilara the seamstress. Expression, the assessor frowns. Flushed, agitated. There is a brightness in the eye. I ran here, she stammers. I was late. Haste implies excitement. The assessor drones. Excitement implies a lack of gravity. Joy's surcharge applied, but I'm not happy, she protests. I'm panicked. Panic is a high-energy emotion, he counters. It is close cousins with exhilaration. 3 silver pieces. She pays, looking miserable, which ironically will probably lower her taxes next month. It's a perverse economic incentive. The sadder you look, the richer you are. The happier you look, the poorer you become. It monetizes depression. If you walk around with a spring in your step, you are literally walking yourself into bankruptcy. You step out of the line before you get assessed. You don't want to pay the curiosity tax or the stranger surcharge. As you walk away, you realize the insidiousness of Lord Valerius's rule. He hasn't just banned laughter. He has built a system where misery is the most rational choice. He has engineered a society where being depressed is the optimal survival strategy. But looking at Ilara the seamstress, walking away with her head down but her fists clenched, you wonder how long people can live against their own nature. You can tax their money, you can break their mirrors, but can you really tax the human spirit into submission forever? The statue of the dead boy in the square stares at you as you pass. The stone jester cap in his hand seems to mock the silence. He died laughing. In a way, he was the last free person in Valoria, and his father has turned the entire town into a monument to the very thing that killed him. The silence of the grave. You are getting the hang of the Valoria shuffle. That soft, sliding walk over the straw that keeps you silent and inconspicuous. You blend in with the shadows as the afternoon light begins to fade, casting long melancholic shapes across the town square. You see a gathering near the church. In any other town, a crowd outside a church usually means a wedding or a funeral. In Valoria, the distinction is blurry. You drift closer. It is a wedding. You can tell because there are 2 people standing at the front who look slightly more terrified than everyone else. The groom wears a black tunic with a single white ribbon the color of bond tied around his arm. The bride wears a dress of heavy gray velvet, her face covered by a thick black veil. There are no flowers, there's no music. No one is throwing rice that would make a noise. Instead, the guests are holding small bundles of dried herbs rosemary for remembrance, rue for regret. You slip into the back of the church. The interior is stripped bare. No gold, no stained glass. The statues of the saints have been draped in black cloth. It feels like a tomb. The priest stands at the altar, doesn't smile. He doesn't say, "Dearly beloved, we gather here," he intones, his voice echoing in the hollow space, to witness the union of 2 souls in the shadow of mortality. "Cheery, do you, Thomas?" the priest asks. "Take this woman to share in the burden of life, to weep with her in sorrow, to walk with her in the valley of silence." "I do," Thomas whispers, looking like he's agreeing to a prison sentence. "And do you, Sarah?" The priest turns to the bride. "Take this man to be your partner in grief? To bear the weight of existence together until the release of death?" "I do," Sarah says. Her voice cracks. "Then I pronounce you joined in sorrow," the priest concludes. "You may acknowledge one another. There is no 'you may kiss the bride.' Kissing is a display of passion." Instead, Thomas reaches out and solemnly shakes Sarah's hand, a firm, businesslike handshake. The guests sigh in unison. It's the Valorian equivalent of applause. As the couple walks back down the aisle, the guests toss their dried herbs onto the floor. The scent of bitter rue fills the air. No one smiles. No one says congratulations. They murmur things like strength to you and endure well. You follow the procession out. This is the wedding wake from the outline. Reception is held in the churchyard among the gravestones. Again, efficient. Why leave the reminder of death when you can just party next to it? Tables are set up. The food is predictably bland. Boiled potatoes, unsalted bread, water. But as you watch the celebration, you notice something. The groom Thomas leans in to whisper something to Sarah. He's blocked from the view of the guards by a large tombstone. You see Sarah's shoulders shake. It's just once. A quick, suppressed spasm. Did he tell a joke? You look closer. Thomas's face is impassive, but his eyes are alive. He squeezes her hand, not in a handshake, but with real affection. They are faking it. They are playing the role of the miserable couple, but underneath the gray velvet and the black armbands, they are happy. It's a secret rebellion, private joy kept safe in a public prison. You realize that Valoria hasn't killed love. It has just forced it underground, has made intimacy an act of resistance. You decide to leave them to their secret happiness. You have a meeting to catch. According to the rumors you picked up eavesdropping on a very quiet conversation between two bakers, there is a place where the facade drops completely. You head to the edge of town, to an old tannery building that supposedly closed years ago. The smell of curing leather, acrid and sharp, still hangs around it, which is a perfect deterrent for curious guards. You find the side door. It's locked. You knock the pattern you heard. Tap, tap, tap. A slat opens. Eyes peer out. What is the heaviest thing in the world? Voice whispers. A feather, you answer the code phrase, because you can't put it down if you want to fly. The door opens. You step into the cellar of whispers. It's dark, but warm. There are rugs on the floor. Thick, colorful rugs that look like they were smuggled in from a bazaar in the east. There are lanterns casting a golden glow. And there are people, lots of them. And they are making faces. Literally. They are standing in pairs, making ridiculous faces at each other. Cross-eyed, tongues out, ears wiggling. It's the most childish, surreal thing you've ever seen. Welcome, a woman says, guiding you in. She pulls down her gray hood to reveal a bright green scarf. Tonight is Grimace Night. Grimace Night? We exercise the muscles, she explains. If you don't use them, they atrophy. We stretch the jaw. We wiggle the nose. We remind our faces that they are made of rubber, not stone. You watch a burly blacksmith puff out his cheeks and pop them with his hands. His partner, a seamstress, tries to touch her nose with her tongue. They are giggling silently. It keeps us sane, the woman says. The Lord wants us to be statues. We choose to be gargoyles. This is the underground resistance. It's not bombs, not swords, but silly faces. We also trade jokes, she adds, leading you to a table where a group is huddled. Current exchange rate is 1 limerick for 2 puns. You listen in. What do you call a knight who is afraid to fight? A man whispers. Surrender, a woman replies, snorting. It's a terrible pun. A dad joke of the highest order. But here, it's treasure. The group stifles their laughter, burying their faces in pillows to muffle the sound. We have to be careful, the woman warns. The guards are getting suspicious. They found a rubber chicken in the market yesterday. Someone got careless. A rubber chicken in Valoria. That's contraband on the level of a weapon of mass destruction. Who brings them in, you ask? The peddler, she says. He comes once a month. He hides the toys inside sacks of grain. Whoopee cushions, fake noses, buzzers. He's a saint. You sit down and watch. It's heartwarming and heartbreaking. These adults reduced to sneaking around like naughty schoolchildren just to feel a moment of levity. It highlights the absurdity of the ban. Laughter is so fundamental that you have to build a police state to stop it, and even then, it leaks out through the cracks. Suddenly, the mood shifts. A man rushes in from the back entrance. He looks panicked. The Lord, he hisses. He's coming down. The room freezes. Here, someone gasps. No, the scout says. To the town, he's leaving the castle. He's doing an inspection. This is bad. Lord Valerius rarely leaves his keep. If he's coming down, it means he senses something is wrong, or he just wants to make everyone miserable in person. Clear out, the woman orders. Hide the colors. Reset your faces. In seconds, the rugs are rolled up. The green scarf disappears. The silly faces vanish, replaced by the smooth, blank masks of Valoria. The resistance dissolves back into the gray dampness of the tannery. You slip out with them. The sun has set, and the town is dark, but you can see torches moving up on the castle road. A procession is winding its way down. Lord Valerius is coming. You decide to get closer to the source of the trauma. While the Lord is out inspecting the town, the castle might be less guarded. You have a destination in mind from your outline, the Jester's dungeon. You sneak up the winding path to the castle. The guards are distracted, preparing for the Lord's procession. You slip through a side postern gate. The lock is old and easily picked, or maybe you just get lucky and it's open. You find your way to the lower levels. The air gets colder. The stone gets damp. You are descending into the belly of the beast. You find the door to the old dungeon. It's rusted shut, but there's a barred window. You peer in. It's not what you expected. It's not a torture chamber. It's a museum. Inside the cell, preserved in the dust, are the remnants of the troop from 20 years ago. There are juggling pins lying on the floor. A unicycle rusting in the corner, hanging on the wall, tattered and faded, but still recognizable, is a suit of motley. It's a jester's outfit. It hangs there like the skin of a ghost. The bells are silent. The colors are muted by decades of dust. But there's something else. On the walls of the cell, scratched into the stone, are drawings. Not despairing scratches. Caricatures. Funny faces. Cartoons of the guards. Even a drawing of Lord Valerius with donkey ears. The jesters didn't die in despair. They died mocking their captor. Even in the dark, even facing death, they kept their humor. It was their defiance. You realize that Feste and his troop weren't just victims, and were martyrs of mirth, left a legacy of laughter scratched into the very foundation of the castle that tried to silence them. You hear footsteps approaching. Guards. You pull back from the window and hide in the shadows of an archway. Did you hear something? A guard asks. Just the rats and other replies, or maybe Festa's ghost telling a knock-knock joke. They laugh nervously. Even the jailers are haunted by the memory. You slip away, back out into the night. You've seen the past, the tragedy in the square, the prison of the clowns. And you have seen the present, the underground gigglers, the whispered puns. Now you have to face the future. The Lord is in the town. The tension is at a breaking point. Tomorrow, something is going to give. You can feel it. The silence is too heavy. It's going to snap. As you walk back down the hill, you hear a sound from the town below. It's the thud, thud, thud of the muffled bell. But tonight, it sounds different. It sounds like a countdown. The morning of the inspection is cold. A biting wind sweeps down from the castle, swirling the straw in the streets into little golden tornadoes. The town is tense. You can feel the anxiety radiating off the citizens like heat. They are sweeping their stoops with frantic energy, trying to make the straw look orderly. They are adjusting their black armbands. They are practicing their neutral faces in the reflections of puddles before muddying them up again. You take a position near the bakery. It offers a good view of the main street. The baker is outside, arranging loaves of dark bread into a pyramid. His hands are shaking. "Steady," you whisper to him. He jumps. "The Lord has eyes like a hawk," he whispers back. He can spot a smirk from 50 paces. Once, he fined a man for having jovial eyebrows. Jovial eyebrows. The list of crimes keeps growing. At noon, the procession begins. It's not a grand parade with trumpets. It's a funeral march. First come the guards, walking in lockstep, their boots muffled by the straw. Then come the banner carriers, holding high the black flags of Valoria. And finally, Lord Valerius himself. He is riding a black horse. The horse's hooves are wrapped in felt. It moves silently like a nightmare. Lord Valerius is a striking figure. He is tall, thin, and pale. He wears black velvet robes trimmed with silver thread. His face is a mask of frozen grief. It's a handsome face, but it looks like it hasn't moved in 20 years. His eyes are dark, scanning the crowd with a laser-like intensity. He is looking for cracks in the facade. He is looking for joy. The townspeople line the street. They bow as he passes. They do not cheer. They do not wave. They stand perfectly still, eyes downcast. The Lord stops his horse in front of the bakery. He looks at the pyramid of bread. "Baker," he says. His voice is deep and resonant, but cold. "Your bread, my lord." The baker squeaks. "It is round," the Lord observes. "It is plump. It suggests abundance. Abundance leads to satisfaction. Satisfaction leads to complacency." "I can flatten it, my lord," the baker stammers. "I can make it unleavened." "See that you do," the Lord commands. Suffering feeds the soul. Gluttony starves it. He moves on. The baker collapses onto a sack of flour, hyperventilating. You watch as the Lord continues his inspection. He stops a woman to critique her dress, too much lace, vanity. He scolds a child for running haste as the enemy of contemplation. He is a micromanaging tyrant of mood. But as he reaches the town square, the tension ratchets up. The square is packed. Everyone is there. The silence is deafening, and then it happens. It's the accidental snort. It's the baker's assistant. A young lad, maybe 16. He is standing near you. He is nervous. He has a nervous tic. When he gets stressed, he snorts. The Lord is passing right in front of him. The horse swishes its tail. The tail tickles the lad's nose. Snort. It's loud. It sounds like a pig finding a truffle. The Lord stops, turns his head slowly. He looks at the lad who made that sound. The lad is terrified. He turns red. He tries to hold it in, but the stress makes it worse. "Snort, snort, mockery," the Lord whispers, "in my own square, in front of my son's statue." He points a gloved finger, sees him. The guards rush forward. They grab the lad. No. The baker cries out, forgetting himself. "It's a tic, my lord. He cannot help it. He is nervous." Nervousness is a lack of discipline, the Lord states. To snort at authority is to laugh at order. Take him to the stocks. Let him meditate on silence. The guards drag the struggling boy away. The crowd shifts. There is a murmur of dissent. It's quiet, but it's there. People are angry. This is petty. This is cruel. The Lord hears the murmur. He glares at the crowd. Silence. He roars. "Do you forget? Do you forget the boy who died? Do you forget the price of laughter? It is death. I keep you safe. I keep you solemn so you may live." His voice cracks. For a second, you see the grief behind the tyranny. He isn't just a monster. He's a broken father who thinks he is saving them, but his trauma has become their prison. The square falls silent again. Fear wins. But then, a woman steps forward. It's Sarah, the bride from the wedding. She is holding something in her arms, a bundle wrapped in gray cloth. A baby. She walks right up to the Lord's horse. The guards move to stop her, but the Lord holds up a hand. He is curious.
My Lord,
Sarah says, her voice trembling but clear.
at my
A child, the Lord says, looking at the bundle with a mix of pain and longing. Born into sorrow. Good. He is not sorrowful, my Lord, Sarah says. He is new. She pulls back the cloth. The baby is awake. He has big, bright eyes. He looks at the Lord. He looks at the black horse. He looks at the grim faces. And then the baby does what babies do. He reaches out a chubby hand toward the shiny silver embroidery on the Lord's robe. And he smiles. It's a gummy, toothless, radiant smile. And then a gurgle, happy bubbling sound. The Lord freezes. He stares at the child, sees the smile. It's the same smile his son had, the smile that killed him. Cover him, the Lord whispers, his face pale. Hide his face. It is dangerous. It is not dangerous, Sarah says, stepping closer. It is life, my Lord. Look at him. He is breathing. He is smiling, and he is breathing. The Lord flinches. He will choke. The joy will take his breath. No, Sarah says firmly. She tickles the baby's tummy. The baby laughs. Giggle, giggle. The sound rings through the square. It hits the Lord like a physical blow. He recoils in his saddle. He puts a hand to his chest, as if he is the one choking. Stop it, he gasps. You are killing him. I am loving him, Sarah cries. And he is fine. Look, he is fine. The baby laughs again, louder this time. The crowd watches mesmerized. The baby isn't turning blue. He isn't dying. He's just happy. The spell begins to break. The logic of the bandit laughter equals death is being disproven in real time. The Lord stares. He looks from the baby to the statue of his dead son. He looks at the jester cap and stone hands. He looks back at the living, laughing child. His face starts to crumble. A mask of 20 years cracks. His lip quivers. Tears start to well up in his dark eyes. Julian, he whispers. He slides off his horse. He lands in the straw. He falls to his knees in front of Sarah. He reaches out a trembling hand. He breathes. The Lord asks, his voice broken. He breathes, Sarah confirms. Touch him. The Lord touches the baby's hand. The baby grabs his finger. The baby shakes the finger and laughs. The Lord lets out a sob. It's a ragged, ugly sound. He buries his face in his hands and weeps. Great heaving sobs that shake his whole body. The crowd is stunned. The Lord is making noise. Loud, emotional noise. And then something amazing happens. The baker, seeing the Lord weeping, steps forward. He puts a hand on the Lord's shoulder. It's all right, my Lord, the baker says softly. Let it out. The Lord looks up. His face is wet with tears. He looks at the baker. He looks at the boy in the stocks. He looks at the gray town he built. I wanted to save you, he chokes out. I thought the silence would save you. We are safe, Sarah says gently. But we are not living. The Lord looks at the baby again. The baby blows a raspberry. Theft. And the Lord Valerius, the tyrant of tears, the architect of the great silence, snorts. He snorts through his tears. It's a wet, messy sound, and then he chuckles. It's a rusty, painful sound like an old engine turning over. Hey, he blew a raspberry. the Lord says, wiping his eyes. He did, Sarah smiles. The chuckle turns into a laugh. A hysterical, sobbing laugh. The Lord sits back in the straw and laughs at the absurdity of it all. He laughs at his fear. He laughs at his grief. And the town laughs with him. It starts with the baker, then the guard, then the miller. It spreads like wildfire. It's not polite laughter. It's relief. It's the breaking of a dam. People are hugging each other, crying and laughing at the same time. The guard releases the boy from the stocks. The boy rubs his wrists and grins. You watch from the edge of the crowd. You feel a lump in your throat. It's beautiful. The sound of hundreds of people remembering how to be human. The Lord stands up. He looks exhausted, but lighter. He looks at the black banners hanging from the windows. "Take them down," he orders. His voice is hoarse. "Take them all down?" He looks at the statue of his son. Turn the water back on. Julian. Julian would have hated the sand. The crowd cheers. A real, loud, raucous cheer. As the sun begins to set, the town of Valoria transforms. The black cloth is ripped down. The people run to their houses and bring out the colored scarves, the hidden ribbons, the contraband paints. The innkeeper rolls out a barrel of ethereal stuff, the stuff he's been hiding in the cellar. The lute player strikes up a jig. You walk through the square? The straw is being swept away, revealing the cobblestones underneath. The sound of boots on stone, clack, 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 returns. It's the rhythm of life. You see the Lord sitting on the edge of the now-filling fountain. He is watching the children play. He looks sad. Still, grief doesn't vanish in a day, but he is smiling. A small, tentative smile. You approach him. "My Lord." You say. He looks up. "Stranger," he says, "you saw us at our worst." "I saw a father who loved his son," you say. He nods. "I loved him so much I forgot to love the living. But today the living reminded me." He picks up a handful of water and lets it splash back into the basin. "It's a good sound," he says. "Noisy, but good." You leave him there. You walk to the gate. The guards are leaning on their halberds, but they are chatting. One is telling a joke. You catch the punchline. The friar said, "That's not a duck. That's my wife." They laugh. You walk out of Valoria. Silence is gone. Behind you, the sound of a town celebrating its own resurrection echoes into the night. The mist is lifting. The stars are coming out. And somewhere in the distance, a dog barks. And it sounds like the happiest sound in the world. Hey guys, tonight we were going to a courtroom where the defendant is unpleading the fifth, mostly because she can only plead oink. We are traveling back to 1386. It's a time when the legal system was so thoroughly inclusive that it extended the full weight of the law to barnyard animals. We're going to witness a murder trial where the accused is a pig. The lawyer is a very confused human, and the verdict is deadly serious. You probably won't survive a reality check about how much you personify your pets. You think your dog looks guilty when he eats your homework? Imagine if the state agreed with you and decided to hang him for it. We're entering a world where animals weren't just property. They were moral agents capable of malice, murder, and apparently needing a good defense attorney. So, before you get comfortable and hide your bacon, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy my work here. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. I love imagining the map lighting up with all of you. Safe in a century where ham sandwiches don't stand trial. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for a soft background, and let's start tonight's journey together. You are standing in the narrow, winding streets of Falaise, France. It is January in the year 1386. The air is crisp and smells of wood smoke, wet wool, and the distinct earthy aroma of a medieval city that hasn't quite figured out sewage yet. The cobblestones are slick with a morning frost that catches the pale winter sun. It feels like a normal day. You can hear the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer and the shout of a merchant selling eels. But there is a tension in the air. People aren't walking with their usual purpose. They are gathering. They are whispering. A crowd is forming near the Rue de la Truitha street of the Sow. You push your way gently through the press of bodies. The woolen cloaks of the townsfolk are scratchy against your arms. Everyone is looking at something happening in the mud of the street. Is it a thief? A woman next to you asks, clutching her basket of eggs. Worse, a man replies grimly. A murderer. You stand on your tiptoes to see. You expect to see a bandit in chains, or maybe a rogue soldier being dragged away by the town guard. Instead, you see a pig. She is a sow, large and pinkish gray, with stiff bristles running down her spine. She isn't running wild. She is being restrained. Two burly constable's men, who look like they usually handle drunkards and cut per scissor, struggling to hold her down. One has a rope around her neck. The other is gripping her hind legs. The pig is squealing. It's a high, piercing sound that cuts through the murmur of the crowd. Ree-hee, ree-hee, hold her steady. The Viscount of Falaise shouts. He is standing nearby, dressed in fine robes that are dangerously close to the mud. He looks important and incredibly stressed. She must be taken into custody alive. The law demands a trial. A trial? For a pig? You watch, fascinated and bewildered. This isn't a farmer dragging a pig to slaughter. This is an arrest. What did she do? You ask the man next to you. Turns to you, his face pale. She ate the child, he whispers. It's the mason's infant. Left in the cradle while the parents were working. Is this so? She went into the house. She attacked the face and the arms. You feel a chill that has nothing to do with the winter air. It's a gruesome, horrific tragedy. In the modern world, this would be a terrible accident. The animal would be put down immediately, or maybe the parents charged with negligence. But here, in the 14th century, the lens is different. The pig didn't just act on instinct. In the eyes of these people, she committed a crime. She violated the peace. She acted with malice aforethought. She has the devil in her, an old woman mutters, crossing herself. Look at her eyes. Those are not the eyes of a beast. Those are the eyes of a sinner. You look at the pig. She just looks like a frightened animal. She's thrashing, kicking up mud, trying to get back to her sty. But the constables are relentless. They aren't treating her like livestock. They are treating her like a suspect. Bring the irons. The Viscount commands. You watch in disbelief as a jailer runs forward with a set of iron shackles. Real, heavy human shackles. They struggle to fit them onto the pig's legs. The geometry is all wrong. Pig ankles aren't designed for handcuffs. But they manage to secure them, clanking the iron tight. By order of the king and the Viscount, the constable announces. Breathless and covered in muck, you are under arrest for the murder of Jean Lameau. He is reading the pig her rights, or at least reading the charges. The crowd parts as they drag the sow away. She is hauled upright, her front hooves scrabbling uselessly against the stones, forced to walk on her hind legs like a grotesque parody of a human prisoner. It's a disturbing sight. It blurs the line between man and beast in a way that feels deeply uncomfortable. You follow the procession toward the castle. The Château de Falaise looms over the town, a massive stone fortress that was the birthplace of William the Conqueror. It's a place of serious history, serious wars, and apparently serious veterinary justice. Why don't they just kill it? You wonder aloud. Because justice must be seen to be done, a clerk walking nearby answers. He's carrying a stack of parchment. If we simply kill the beast, it is vengeance. But if we try the beast, it is law. order is restored. The pig must answer for her crimes. This is a mainstream historical fact. Animal trials were a real phenomenon in medieval Europe. They fell into two categories. Church courts handled pests like rats and locusts, usually by excommunicating them, while secular courts handled domestic animals like pigs, cows, and horses that caused physical harm. The logic was that animals were part of the community. They lived in the house, they worked the fields. If they broke the social contract, they had to be punished by the same rules as everyone else. You reach the gates of the prison, the Pont Dove. It's a dark, foreboding tower. Usually, this place holds thieves, debtors, and traitors. Today, it holds a sow. The jailer opens the heavy wooden door. The smell of damp straw and despair wafts out. They drag the pig inside. Not the sty, the Viscount orders. The dungeon. Put her in the cell next to the poacher. She'll need a keeper, the jailer says, scratching his head. Someone to feed her. The daily bread allowance for a prisoner applies, the Viscount says, same as any other inmate. See that she does not escape. The door slams shut. Boom. The crowd begins to disperse, buzzing with the scandal. You stand there, looking at the closed door. You've just witnessed the beginning of one of the strangest legal proceedings in history. You feel a strange mix of absurdity and horror. On one hand, it's Monty Python levels of silly, arresting a pig, but on the other hand, a child is dead. The grief is real. And the town's response to impose structure and law on a chaotic, violent event is a desperate attempt to make sense of a senseless tragedy. They need the pig to be a murderer, because if she's just an animal, then the world is random and cruel. But if she's a criminal, she can be punished and the world makes sense again. You decide to stick around. You have to see how this ends. You have to see a pig in court. The damp cold of the Falaise dungeon seeps through your clothes as if the stone walls are exhaling ice. You've managed to talk your way inside. A few coins to a bored turnkey goes a long way in the 14th century. The air down here is thick, smelling of old straw, unwashed bodies, and that distinct metallic temps of misery. You walk down the narrow corridor, your boots scuffing on the uneven flagstones. To your left, a man is weeping softly in the shadows, begging for a priest. To your right, a cut-purse is snoring loudly, seemingly unbothered by his impending fate. And at the end of the hall you find her, the prisoner. She is in a cell identical to the others. There is a heavy wooden door with a small barred window. You peer inside. The sow is lying on a pile of straw that is admittedly fresher than what the human prisoners get. But she isn't free to roam the cell. She is in irons. It is a surreal sight. Her front legs are rather. Her arms in the eyes of the law are shackled together with heavy iron cuffs. A chain runs from the cuffs to a ring bolt in the wall. She shifts her weight, and the chains clank loudly. Clink-clank, she looks up at you. Her small eyes blink in the torchlight. She lets out a low, confused grunt. Oink, you feel a wave of pity. She has no idea what's happening. She doesn't know she's in jail. She probably just wonders why she can tea-root around for acorns, and why her legs feel so heavy. She's a quiet one, a voice says behind you. You jump. It's the jailer. He's a squat man with a ring of keys on his belt and a piece of bread in his hand. Doesn't say much, he jokes darkly. Better than the poacher in cell 4. He never shuts up, does she? You ask? Same ration as the rest, the jailer says, tossing the chunk of hard bread through the bars. The pig scrambles up, chains rattling, and snuffles at the bread. She eats it greedily. 6 deniers a day for food. It's on the Towns tab. This is a trivial but fascinating fact. The cost of keeping an animal prisoner was meticulously recorded in municipal ledgers. We actually have the receipts from Falaise in 1386. The daily upkeep of the pig cost the same as a human prisoner. The bureaucracy didn't distinguish between species when it came to budget line items. A prisoner was a prisoner. The lawyer came by earlier, the jailer mentions, leaning against the damp wall. The lawyer? Aye, Matra Jean. He's been appointed to defend her. He came to interview the client. You try to imagine that conversation. Lawyer. Did you do it? Pig. Oink. Lawyer. I see. We'll go with the insanity defense. He seemed frustrated. The jailer chuckles. Said she wasn't very cooperative. But he's getting paid, so he'll do his best. Everyone deserves a defense, right? Even a child eater. The jailer's tone shifts at the end. The crime is still hanging over everything. Even though the scene is absurd, the horror of the dead infant is real. The jailer looks at the pig not with amusement, but with a mix of fear and revulsion. To him, she is a monster, a beast that crossed the line. They say she has a soul, the jailer whispers, crossing himself. That's why she's here. She didn't have a soul, she couldn't commit a sin. And murder is a sin. This is the crux of the matter. The medieval worldview was hierarchical. God, angels, humans, animals, plants, rocks, each had its place. But sometimes animals seem to act with human-like agency. A pig that breaks into a house and kills a child isn't just acting on instinct. It's usurping the role of a human villain. Therefore, it must be treated like a human villain to restore the cosmic order. When is the trial, you ask? Tomorrow, the jailer says. In the main hall of the Palais de Justice. The Viscount himself will preside. It'll be a spectacle, that's for sure. Half the town is coming. He jingles his keys. Time to go. Visiting hours are over, unless you want to stay and keep her company. I've got spare irons. No thanks, you say quickly. You leave the dungeon, stepping back out into the light. The contrast is jarring. The town is buzzing with activity. But down there in the dark, a pig is sitting in chains, waiting for a judgment she cannot comprehend. As you walk back to the square, you see a group of carpenters building something. A scaffold. It's not a pen, it's a gallows. They are building it high with a sturdy crossbeam. They are testing the trapdoor. Needs to hold weight. One carpenter grunts. She's a heavy one. Don't want the rope to snap. You realize with a jolt that they are planning to hang her. Not slaughter her. Hang her like a man. The absurdity is turning into a nightmare. You are witnessing a society so obsessed with form and procedure that they are willing to create a grotesque parody of justice. Rather than admit that sometimes bad things just happen, you head to the tavern to warm up. The talk inside is all about the pig. I heard she had an accomplice, a drunkard slurs. A black cat that opened the latch for her. Rubbish, another argues. It was the parents' fault. It's leaving the babe alone on a Friday. Everyone knows Friday is an unlucky day. The rumors are flying. The pig is becoming a legend. By tomorrow morning, she'll probably be rumored to speak Latin and fly on a broomstick. You sit in the corner, nursing a cup of wine. You think about the pig in the dark cell. You think about the lawyer preparing his opening statement. And you realize that tomorrow, you are going to see one of the most bizarre events in human history unfold. But for now, the pig waits. In irons, alone. A prisoner of human logic. The next morning, you find yourself not in a courtroom, but in the antechamber of the town council. This is where the decisions happen before the gavel bangs. The room is paneled in dark oak, smelling of beeswax and self-importance. Fire crackles in the hearth, but it does little to warm the chilly atmosphere of fiscal responsibility. The Council of Falaise is in session. These are the burghers, the merchants, the men who hold the purse strings. They are dressed in heavy woolen robes trimmed with modest fur enough to show they have money, but not enough to look like they're wasting it. They are huddled around a table covered in ledgers. The cost is exorbitant, one councilman complains, tapping a parchment with a manicured fingernail. He's a cloth merchant with a face like a dried apple. 18 francs for the jailer, 6 sous for the cart. And now this bill for the lawyer? Justice is not cheap, Master Philippe, replies the Viscount, who is sitting at the head of the table. He looks tired. We cut corners. The king's prosecutor will have our heads. The trial must be legitimate. You watch from the side, posing as a clerk's assistant. It's fascinating. They aren't debating the morality of trying a pig. They are debating the budget. But Maitre Jean demands a fee of 10 tournois, Master Philippe argues. That's more than we pay the schoolmaster for a month. Maitre Jean is the best advocate in Normandy, another councilman counters. He defended the miller's horse last year, got him off with a warning and a fine of 2 sacks of oats. If anyone can handle a sow, it's him. But does the pig need a lawyer? Philippe asks, wringing his hands. Can we not just appoint a novice and risk an appeal? The Viscount slams his hand on the table. If the pig is not adequately defended, the verdict could be overturned by the Parliament of Paris. Do you want to be the laughingstock of the capital? It's the town that couldn't even hang a pig correctly? This is a mainstream historical fact. Procedural correctness was paramount. In 1457, in Savigny, a sow and her 6 piglets were charged with murder. The piglets were acquitted because their lawyer argued they were minors under the bad influence of their mother. The court accepted the defense. These trials weren't kangaroo courts. They were meticulously legalistic. Very well, Philippe sighs, signing the authorization. Hire the lawyer, but tell him no fancy speeches. I don't want to pay for rhetoric in the gloves, the clerk asks, holding up another bill. Gloves? Philippe splutters. For the executioner, the clerk explains. He refuses to touch the client. With bare hands, he demands a new pair of white gloves. To signify the purity of the law, white gloves for a pig hanging, Philippe mutters, rubbing his temples. Fine, approve it, but get them from my cousin's shop. I want a discount. The bureaucracy is grinding on. Every aspect of the tragedy is being quantified, itemized, and invoiced. It's a way of sanitizing the horror. If you can put a price on it, you can control it.
Oh.
The door opens, and a man sweeps in. He is wearing a long black robe and a hat that looks like a velvet muffin. He carries a leather satchel and an air of supreme confidence. Maitre Jean, the defense attorney. Gentlemen, he bows. I have reviewed the case file, and the Viscount asks. It is challenging, Maitre Jean admits. The evidence is strong. Multiple eyewitnesses saw the sow exiting the house with blood on her snout. The victim is undeniable. So she's guilty, Philippe says hopefully. Can we wrap this up by lunch? Not so fast. Maitre Jean holds up a finger. There are mitigating circumstances. I intend to argue lack of intent. A pig cannot form mens rea guilty mind. She was acting on animal hunger, not malice. Therefore it is manslaughter, not murder. Manslaughter? The Viscount frowns. Pig slaughter. Surely. The law makes no distinction in the charges, Maitre Jean says smoothly. Murder is murder. But if I can prove she is merely a beast, she cannot be executed as a criminal. She would simply be confiscated and sold. Sold. Philippe perks up. We could recover the costs? Exactly. Maitre Jean nods. If she is executed, the meat is tainted. It must be burned. Total loss. But if she is merely a dangerous animal, she can be sold to a neighboring parish far away. Of course, the proceeds go to the town treasury. Suddenly, the trial isn't about justice anymore. It's about asset recovery. Brilliant, Philippe breathes. Do it! Argue the beast's defense. However, Maitre Jean adds, looking grave, there's the matter of the outfit. Outfit? The Viscount looks confused. If she appears in court naked, Maitre Jean explains, she looks like livestock. The judge will dismiss her as a dumb animal instantly, which helps the defense but hurts the dignity of the court. To be tried as a person, she must appear as a person. You want to dress the pig? The Viscount asks slowly. Just a waistcoat, Maitre Jean suggests. And perhaps some breeches, to show she is a subject of the crown, entitled to due process. This is madness, Philippe groans. How much for the breeches? The tailor's already working on them, the clerk pipes up. For sous, Philippe puts his head in his hands. Approved. Just. On with it. The meeting breaks up. You follow Maitre Jean out of the room. He looks pleased with himself. He has secured his fee, he has a strategy, and he has a budget for pig pants. Excuse me, Maitre, you say, catching up to him. Do you really think you can save her? He looks at you, his eyes sharp. Young man, in a court of law, anything is possible. I once convinced a judge that a swarm of weevils had been excommunicated in a previous life and were therefore ineligible for trial. A pig is easy. He strides away, robes billowing. You are left standing in the hall, marveling at the sheer, unadulterated confidence of the legal profession. They are about to put pants on a pig and argue about its soul, and they are doing it with a straight face. But as you walk back out into the cold air, you remember the dungeon. The pig is still there. She doesn't know about the budget. She doesn't know about the breeches. She's just cold and hungry. And you wonder, in all this talk of money and procedure, if anyone has thought about the fact that she's just a pig who did what pigs do. The stage is set. The actors are ready. The costume is being stitched. It's the trial of the century, or, at least, the barnyard trial of the century is about to begin. The day of the trial arrives with a flurry of activity that would make you think the king himself was visiting. But the guest of honor is, in fact, a sow named Well. She doesn't have a name, but the court documents refer to her as the accused. You are back in the dungeon. The atmosphere is tense. The jailers are running back and forth with buckets of water and stiff brushes. They are scrubbing the pig. Get behind the ears. The head jailer barks. She needs to look presentable for the judge. We can't have her smelling like a sty. The pig is not enjoying the spa day. She squeals and tries to shake off the water, spraying the jailers with muddy droplets. Hold her still. And then comes the outfit. Watch in disbelief as the tailor arrives with the custom-made garments. A waistcoat of rough linen, dyed a somber brown, and a pair of breeches, essentially large shorts with a hole for the tail. This is ridiculous, you muttered to yourself. It's dignity. The tailor corrects you, overhearing, is pinning the fabric. If she is to stand before the law, she must respect the court's dress code. Getting a pig into pants is exactly as difficult as it sounds. It requires 3 men. One to hold the pig, one to lift the hind legs, and one to shimmy the fabric up. The pig kicks. She grunts. She looks deeply confused. Careful with the tail. The tailor yelps. Don't snag the stitching. Finally, she is dressed. She looks bizarre, like a character from a twisted children's book. The waistcoat is buttoned tight across her chest. Do pigs have chests? And the breeches sag slightly around her hocks. She waddles a few steps, shaking her head, trying to figure out why her skin feels so tight. Perfect, the jailer says, stepping back to admire his handiwork. She looks like a sturdy peasant woman, bit hairy, but respectable. They shackle her front legs again, this time with cleaner irons, and lead her out. The walk to the courthouse is a parade. The entire town of Falaise has turned out. They line the streets, gawking. "Look at her," a child shouts. "She's wearing trousers." "It's a mockery," a priest mutters. "Clothing is for the children of Adam. This is blasphemy." But most people are just fascinated. It's a spectacle. It's entertainment. In a world without television, a pig in pants is the Super Bowl. You follow the procession into the Palais de Justice. The main hall is grand, with high vaulted ceilings and tapestries hanging from the walls. At the far end sits the judge, the Viscount, a raised dais. He is wearing his official robes and a chain of office. Next to him sits the prosecutor, a man with a face like a hatchet. And there in the dock, a wooden pen, usually reserved for human criminals, stands the pig. She looks small in the vast room. She snuffles at the wood of the dock. She tries to scratch her ear with her shackled hoof but can't reach. She looks pathetic and strangely human in her little outfit. Oh yes, the bailiff cries, banging a staff on the floor. The court of Falaise is now in session. The case of the Crown versus the sow of Rue de la Truie. The crowd hushes. You find a spot in the gallery. The air is thick with anticipation. The prosecutor stands up. He clears his throat. "My lord," he begins, his voice booming, "we are here to judge a heinous crime. A crime that strikes at the very heart of our community. A crime against innocence itself." He points a dramatic finger at the pig. "This beast," he thunders, "this monster in our midst, did, on the 10th day of January, enter the home of Jean Lameau with malice in her heart. She did approach the cradle where the infant lay sleeping, and she did." He pauses for effect. "She did consume the flesh of the child." The crowd gasps. The horror is fresh again. "She acted not as an animal," the prosecutor argues, "but as a murderer. She knew the child was helpless. She chose her moment. She is a danger to society, a corrupter of the peace, and she must pay the ultimate price." He sits down, looking satisfied. The Viscount turns to the pig. "How does the accused plead?" Silence. The pig grunts. Oink. The accused remains silent, the Viscount notes. A common tactic, then. Maitre Jean stands up. He adjusts his robes. He looks at the pig, then at the judge. "My lord," he says softly. "My learned friend speaks of malice. He speaks of intent. But look at the accused." He gestures to the sow, who is currently trying to eat the railing of the dock. "Does this look like a criminal mastermind?" Jean asks. "Does she look like a creature capable of plotting a murder?" "No, she is a beast. A dumb animal. She was hungry. She smelled food. She acted on instinct. She is wearing pants." The prosecutor shouts, "You dressed her as a human, Maitre Jean. Cannot have it both ways." "I dressed her to show respect for the court," Jean counters smoothly. "But clothes do not make the man. Nor do they make the pig a person. She has no soul, my lord. She cannot sin. Therefore, she cannot be guilty of murder. She is guilty only of being a pig." It's a brilliant argument. It is using the theological hierarchy against the prosecution. The pig has no soul. She is outside the moral law. She is property, not a person. If she is property, the prosecutor shoots back. Then her owner is liable. But the owner has abandoned her. He has disowned the beast. Therefore, she stands alone. And if she stands alone, she must answer for her actions. The legal debate is getting heated. They are citing precedents. They are quoting Latin. Lex talionis, actus reus. You watch the pig. She has managed to chew a splinter off the dock. She seems bored. The judge looks thoughtful. "We must hear the witnesses," he decides. "Bring in the neighbors." This is the next phase. Character witnesses. for a pig. The absurdity of the scene is overwhelming. You are watching the smartest men in the town arguing over the moral agency of a farm animal. The animal in question is thinking about turnips. But there is a dark undercurrent here. The clothes, the shackles, the legal arguments, it's all a way of elevating the pig to human status just long enough to kill her. They need her to be human enough to punish, but animal enough to hang. It's a paradox they are desperate to ignore. As the bailiff calls the first witness, you look at the pig's eyes. They are dark and intelligent. Pigs are smart. Smarter than dogs. Does she know? Does she sense the hostility in the room? She stops chewing. She looks around the room, scanning the faces of the crowd. For a second, her eyes meet yours, and you realize with the sinking feeling that the breeches don't make her look human. They make her look like a victim, a scapegoat in a waistcoat. The trial is just getting started. Things are about to get even weirder. The afternoon sun streams through the high windows of the Palais de Justice, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air and the increasingly restless pig in the dock. She has started to pace, her hoofs clicking rhythmically on the wood. Click-clack, click-clack it. Sounds like a nervous defendant tapping their fingers. Call the first witness. The bailiff bellows. A woman steps forward. She's a neighbor of the victim's family. She looks terrified, twisting her apron in her hands. State your name, the prosecutor demands. Marie Dubois, she whispers. Mistress Dubois, the prosecutor says gently. Tell the court what you know of the accused. Marie points a trembling finger at the pig. She was always a bad one, she stammers. She had a mean look in her eye. She would squeal at passing children, and once I saw her steal a turnip from my garden, she looked right at me as she ate it, like she was daring me to stop her. Aha! The prosecutor exclaims. A pattern of behavior, theft, intimidation. This was not an isolated incident, my lord. This pig has a history of delinquency. Maitre Jean stands up. Objection, he cries. Hearsay. Did the witness file a report about the turnip? No. And stealing food is natural behavior for a hungry animal. It is not evidence of a murderous heart. It goes to character, the prosecutor argues. A pig that steals will bite. A pig that bites will kill. The judge nods slowly, scratching his chin. Noted. Continue. The next witness is a local farmer. He claims the pig once chased his dog. She's aggressive, he insists. She thinks she's the boss of the street. She walks around like she owns the place. So she's arrogant, the judge asks, scribbling in his ledger. Pride, one of the 7 deadly sins. Exactly, my lord. The farmer nods. A prideful beast. Maitre Jean sighs loudly. My lord, are we really attributing the sin of pride to a sow? Next, you will tell me she is guilty of lust because she has piglets? The crowd titters nervously. It's a valid point. The theological trap is closing. If the pig can be proud, she can be guilty. Then comes the main witness, the father of the victim. A hush falls over the room. The man looks broken. His eyes are red-rimmed. He walks slowly to the witness stand. He doesn't look at the pig. Can't. Tell us what you saw, the prosecutor says softly. I came home, the father whispers. My wife was at the market, I heard. A sound. I ran to the cradle, and she was there. He breaks down sobbing. It is a raw, painful sound that echoes off the stone walls. The pig stops pacing. She looks at the man. She lets out a low, soft grunt. It sounds almost sympathetic. Or maybe she just smells the grief. I chased her out, the father chokes out. But it was too late, my boy. The boy was gone. The prosecutor lets the silence hang in the air. Thank you. No further questions. Maitre Jean stands up slowly. He looks at the father with genuine pity. I have no questions for this witness, he says quietly. The defense acknowledges the tragedy. It's a smart move. Attacking the grieving father would turn the jury well. The judge against him instantly. The prosecution rests. The lawyer announces, "Now it's the defense's turn." Maitre Jean walks to the center of the room. He doesn't call witnesses. He calls upon philosophy. "My lord," he begins, his voice rising, "we have heard of tragedy today, but we must not compound tragedy with injustice. Look at this creature. Look at her breeches. Do they make her a woman? No, they make her a mockery." He walks over to the dock and looks the pig in the eye. This animal acts on instinct. God gave her that instinct. To eat, to survive. If she killed, it was because she was following the nature God gave her. If we punish her for being a pig, are we not questioning God's design? The local priest, sitting in the front row, frowns. This is dangerous territory. Furthermore, Maitre Jean continues playing his ace card. There's the matter of the other pigs. Other pigs? The Viscount asks. The 6 piglets, Jean says. They were present at the scene. They were found with blood on them. Yet the prosecution has not charged them. Why? They are minors. The prosecutor shouts. They are accessories. Jean counters. If the mother is guilty, so are the children. But we know that is absurd. We know we cannot hang 6 piglets. So why can we hang the mother? The logic fails, my lord. If the piglets are innocent by virtue of being beasts, so is the sow. The judge looks troubled. He leans back in his chair. The logic is sound. But the political pressure is immense. The town wants blood. They want closure. The court will recess for deliberation, the Viscount announces. I will consult with the clergy. You watch as the judge and the priest huddle in a corner. They are whispering furiously. You catch snippets of the conversation. Example must be made. Natural order. If we let her go, people will riot. It's not a legal debate anymore. It's a political calculation. After an hour, the Viscount returns to the dais. He looks solemn. He puts on his black cap. The court has reached a verdict, he announces. The room holds its breath. Even the pig seems to freeze. Regarding the accused sow, the Viscount reads from a parchment. Despite the eloquent arguments of the defense regarding the nature of the beast, the court finds that the act was committed with such violence that it offends the laws of God and man. He pauses. We find the accused. Guilty. A murmur ripples through the crowd. Some cheer. Some sigh. Furthermore, the Viscount continues, his voice hard. But the punishment must fit the crime. The sow did maim the child in the face and arms. Therefore, the law of Talio applies. An eye for an eye. You feel sick? You know where this is going. The sentence is as follows, the judge declares. The sow shall be taken to the public square. She shall be maimed in the face and forelegs to mirror the injuries she inflicted. And then she shall be dressed in man's clothes and hanged by the neck until dead. The finality of it hits you. They're going to torture her. It's not just an execution, it's a ritual. It's a gruesome theater of retribution. And the judge adds, the 6 piglets are acquitted on account of their youth and the bad example set by their mother. They are to be confiscated and given to the church. Maitre Jean slumps in his chair. He lost, but he saved the bacon of the piglets at least. Take her away, the Viscount orders. The constables move in. They grab the pig. She squeals, sensing the change in the atmosphere. She fights. She kicks. But she is outnumbered. They drag her out of the courtroom, her waistcoat straining, her breeches slipping. It's a pathetic, heartbreaking sight. As the crowd files out to watch the execution, you stay behind for a moment. You look at the empty dock. You look at the judge's bench. You realize that this wasn't a trial, was an exorcism. The town needed to cast out the evil that killed the child, and they projected that evil onto the pig. They dressed her up as a human so they could kill the humanity in the act. It's a twisted logic, but perfectly medieval. If you walk out into the square, the carpenters have finished the scaffold. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the stones. The executioner is there, wearing his new white gloves. You have to watch. You have come this far to see the end of the story. The execution of the pig of Falaise is an event that defies modern comprehension. It is a collision of tragedy, farce, and brutality. The town square is packed. People are leaning out of windows, climbing onto rooftops, jostling for a better view. They have brought their children. Look, a mother says, pointing. See what happens to the wicked? You stand near the back, feeling a knot in your stomach. The scaffold rises above the crowd like a dark altar. The executioner, a massive man in a black hood classic, stands waiting. His new white gloves are gleaming in the twilight. They look pristine, almost holy, a stark contrast to the grim task at hand. The procession arrives. The pig is dragged into the square. She is no longer fighting. She is exhausted. Her waistcoat is torn. Her breeches are muddy. She stumbles as she is pulled up the wooden steps of the scaffold. A priest walks beside her. He is actually reading last rites. It's not the full sacrament, that would be heresy, but a prayer for the cleansing of the town. From the snare of the hunter, he chants in Latin, "Deliver us, O Lord." The pig grunts. It's a low, mournful sound. When they reach the platform, the executioner steps forward. The crowd goes silent. This is the part the judge ordered. The maiming. You look away. You can't watch this part. You hear a sharp squeal of pain, cut short. You hear a collective gasp from the crowd. Justice is served, the Viscount announces from the balcony of the town hall. Then comes the hanging. They place a mask on the pig. A human mask. It's a crude painted face, made of wood or leather, shaped like a man's face. Why? To complete the illusion. To make sure everyone understands that this pig is dying not as an animal, but as a person who committed a crime. They put the noose around her neck. You have any last words? The executioner asks, mocking the ritual. The pig is silent. She is shivering. The executioner pulls the lever. The trapdoor opens with a loud clack. The pig falls. The rope snaps tight. The crowd cheers. It's a roar of release. The tension that has gripped the town since the murder is finally broken. The monster is dead. The evil has been purged. You watch the body sway. The wind catches the waistcoat, making it flutter. The human mask stares blankly out at the crowd. It is the most grotesque thing you have ever seen. But as the cheering fades, a strange mood settles over the square. People start to look uncomfortable. The adrenaline wears off, and they are left looking at a dead pig in pants. The absurdity of it starts to seep in. Is that necessary? You hear a man whisper. It was the law, his neighbor replies, but he sounds unsure. The body is left hanging. Let it be a warning, the Viscount shouts. To all who would break the peace. Warning to whom? Other pigs? Do they think the barnyard animals are going to hold a meeting and discuss the new legal precedent? Apparently, yes, because that is exactly what happens next. The Viscount points to a local farmer. Bring your pigs, he orders. Bring them to the square. Let them see. You watch in disbelief as a farmer herds a group of pigs into the square. He forces them to look up at the scaffold. Look, shouts at them. See what happens. Behave yourselves. The pigs just root around in the dirt, completely uninterested in the swaying corpse of their sister. They are pigs. They care about acorns, not capital punishment. It is the final, perfect layer of madness. The belief that animals possess not just legal responsibility, but moral capacity for learning. As night falls, the crowd disperses. The square empties. The body is cut down and carted away to be burned. The executioner takes off his white gloves, now stained, and throws them on the fire. You walk toward the church of Saint Trine. There is a light inside. You are curious. Inside, you see an artist working on a wall. He is painting a fresco. You step closer. It is a painting of the execution. He is capturing the scene in vivid detail. The scaffold, executioner, the pig in the waistcoat. "Why are you painting this?" you asked. The artist dips his brush in red paint. "The Viscount ordered it," he says. "He wants it to be eternal, a reminder to the town and to the beasts, but beasts can't appreciate art," you point out. "Maybe not," the artist shrugs, "but men can. And maybe, when they look at this, they will remember that justice in Falaise is absolute. No one escapes. It's not man, not beast. You look at the painting, it's grotesque, yes. But it's also a snapshot of the medieval mind. A mind that tried desperately to impose order on a chaotic world. A mind that couldn't accept that a child's death was random, so it created a ritual to give it meaning. The pig didn't die because she was guilty. She died because the town needed a villain. And in a waistcoat and breeches, she played the part perfectly. You walk back out into the night. The square is quiet now. The scaffold stands empty, a silhouette against the moon. You have seen the trial. You have seen the execution. You have seen the painting. And as you leave Falaise, walking down the muddy road, you hear a sound from a nearby farm. Oink. Just a pig, doing pig things. Completely unaware that for one brief, insane moment in history, her species was held to the standards of men. And you realize that the truest thing about this whole story isn't the cruelty or the absurdity, it's the fear. The fear of a world where bad things happen for no reason. The desperate human need to dress that fear up in a waistcoat and hang it from a gallows. Just to feel a little bit safer in the dark.